तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So dear devotees, we are discussing from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, and today we are going to discuss Canto 2, Chapter 5, verse number 21. Kalam karma swabhavam cha mayesho mayaya swaya atman yadrit Chaya praptam vibhu bhushur upadate kalam karma swabhavam cha mayesho mayaya swaya atman yadrichaya praptam vibhu bhushur upadate kalam karma swabhavam cha mayesho mayaya swaya Atman yadrichaya praptam vibhu bhushur upadade. Word to word translation. Kalam, eternal time. Karma, the fate of the living entity. Swabhavam, nature. Cha, also. Maya, potency. Ishaha, the controller. Mayaya, by the energy. Swaya, of his own. Atman, Atmani, unto his self. Yadrichaya, independently. Praptam, being merged in. Vibhu bhushuhu, appearing differently. Upadade, accepted for being created again. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Lord, who is the controller of all energies, thus creates by his own potency eternal time, the fate of all living entities, and their particular nature for which they were created, and he again merges them independently. Would anyone would like to read the purport, please?
I can read, Prabhu.
Thank you.
One second. The creation of the material world, wherein the conditioned souls are allowed to act subordinately by the Supreme Lord, takes place again and again after being repeatedly annihilated. The material creation is something like a cloud in the unlimited sky. The real sky is the spiritual sky, eternally filled with the rays of the Brahmajyoti, and a portion of this unlimited sky is covered by the Mahatattva cloud of the material creation, in which the conditioned souls who want to lord against the will of the Lord are put into play as they desire, under the control of the Lord by the agency of his external energy. As the rainy season appears and disappears regularly, the creation takes place and is again annihilated under the control of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 8.19. So, the creation and annihilation of the material worlds is a regular action of the Lord, just to allow the conditioned souls to play as they like and thereby create their own fate of being differently created again in terms of their independent desire at the time of annihilation. The creation, therefore, takes place at a historical date, as we are accustomed to think of everything which has a beginning in our tiny experience. The process of creation and annihilation is called anadi, or without reference to date regarding the time the creation first took place, because the duration of even a partial creation is 8,6400,000 years. The law of creation is, however, as mentioned in the Vedic literatures, that it is created at certain intervals and is again annihilated by the will of the Lord. The whole material or even the spiritual creation is a manifestation of the energy of the Lord, just as the light and heat of a fire are different manifestations of the fire's energy. The Lord therefore exists in his impersonal form by such expansion of energy, and the complete creation rests on his impersonal feature. Nonetheless, he keeps himself distinct from such creation as the Purnam or complete, and so no one should wrongly think that his personal feature is not existent due to his impersonal unlimited expansions. The impersonal expansion is a manifestation of his energy, and he is always in his personal feature despite his innumerable unlimited expansions of impersonal energies. Bhagavad Gita 9.5 to 7. For human intelligence, it is very difficult to conceive how the whole creation rests on his expansion of energy, but the Lord has given a very good example in the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that although the air and atoms rest within the huge expansion of the sky, which is like a resting reservoir of everything materially created, still the sky remains separate and unaffected. Similarly, although the Supreme Lord maintains everything created by his expansion of energy, he always remains separate. This is accepted even by Shankaracharya, the great advocate of the impersonal form of the Absolute. He says, Narayana Paro Vyaktat, or Narayan exists separately apart from the impersonal creative energy. The whole creation thus merges within the body of transcendental Narayan at the time of annihilation, and the creation emanates from his body again with the same unchanging categories of faith and individual nature. The individual living entities, being parts and parcels of the Lord, are sometimes described as Atma, qualitatively one in spiritual constitution. But because such living entities are apt to be attracted to the material creation, actively and subjectively, they are therefore different from the Lord. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Bhaktivedanta Purport ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhirayet nasya prayashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So this is a very, very deep topic of creation. And in order for us to consolidate our understanding, I would like to start with some background on the verses up till this verse so that we can understand how we have come to this point in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Maharaj Parikshit asked Shukdev Goswami about the process of creation. And in response, Shukdev Goswami, while answering these questions, referred to an historic conversation, a very similar historic conversation that took place between Narad Muni and Lord Brahma. And in this conversation, Lord Brahma first began by inquiring from Lord Brahma about his position. He first offered prayers to Lord Brahma and describing his exalted position, appreciating his position. But then he also observed that Lord Brahma is also in meditation, he's doing austerities. So surely there must be someone higher that Lord Brahma is praying to. That is common sense. So he asked Lord Brahma, okay, Lord Brahma, who is the supreme controller? So Lord Brahma when he heard this question from Narad Muni, he was extremely pleased with these questions by Narad Muni, because this gave Lord Brahma the opportunity to describe and glorify Krishna, describe Krishna's position, describes Krishna's prowess. So Lord Brahma also appreciated Narad's question, because it is giving perspective to not just Narad Muni, but to all of us who will be reading Srimad Bhagavatam in future. So, for example, if an ant is crawling on the chest of a human being, and ant is in its own world of illusion, that ant is the biggest living entity. But unless the ant gets to know how small it is compared with the human being, it will always be in the illusion. How it will ever get a perspective of how insignificant the ant size is in comparison to the human. So this can only happen if someone sees this ant crawling on the body of the human from a distant, and then that comes and tells the ants, actually you are wrong, because you are very insignificant compared to this human being in terms of your size of your body. So similarly, to inquire about God, first we need to have the perspective that God exists. Only then we can start inquiring in detail. And without this perspective, everyone, including all of us, will be in illusion about our existence. So in this conversation between Narad Muni and Lord Brahma, Narad Muni is actually giving an opportunity to Lord Brahma to give everyone some perspective about God, so that we can understand his real position, we can understand Lord's position, and also Lord's relationship with us. So, for example, we know in Tattva, we are the drop, and the Lord is the ocean. So, what does that mean? That qualitatively we are the same, but quantitatively we are very different. Qualitative means like how we are the drop, just like water. We have all qualities of the water. We have wetness, we have transparency, we have liquidity. Similarly, Lord is like that, but Lord is just a bigger version of it. He's the ocean. In a similar context, we are Atma, Lord is Paramatma. We are Jiva or controlled, Lord is Ishvara or the controller. So unless we have this higher perspective of a higher being than us, and then we start experiencing this material world on our own, what will happen is we will see some magics or some miracles happening, and we might even consider living entities like ghost or demigods to be the supreme person. Oh, we saw this magic, this person surely must be the supreme person, if we just look things from our own perspective. So Lord Brahma is really happy, because then he can give this perspective about the Supreme Lord, not only to Narad, but everyone, is saying, who's the father of everyone? From where his power is coming from. So Lord Brahma is the one who creates the garden. So he's creating the garden, he's organizing the garden, but he is not creating the plants. He's not creating the seeds. He's been given the seeds by the Supreme Lord, and Lord Brahma is just a secondary creator of creating the garden from that. So it is like Lord Vishnu creates the seeds, but Lord Brahma creates the garden. So Lord Brahma begins to describe about the Supreme Lord and his material creation, which is coming from him. And then we proceed further, and Lord Brahma described the external potency of the Lord, the Maya Shakti made of the three modes. We call them the three modes of material nature. What are the three modes? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Sattva, Rajas, and Tama. So they are, this material energy is made of these three modes. And these are the principal reasons behind the creation also. And then Lord Brahma is then speaking about the living entity. And at the same time, he's describing the creation so that we can understand the relationship between us, the creation, and the Supreme Lord. So this understanding of relationship is very important, because this is Sambandha Gyan. Unless we have understanding of the Sambandha Gyan, we don't even know how to treat each thing, how to treat the creation, how to treat the creator, and how to treat the other living entities. So we need to have this relationship knowledge of who's who on this existence, so that we can deal with each of them properly and take the right course of action. So the Lord creates this material world, and under his, and he does it via his external potency. And because of that, we forget about him and be in illusion that we are separate from him under this illusion of created by this material energy. But why that's happening? Because for us to experience the suffering of this material existence, so that once we experience this suffering of this material creation, eventually we understand, like, I don't know what I want, but I definitely don't want this. So once we experience the suffering, we can give it up. This is the essence behind the creation of the material world, is for us to experience this suffering and understand this is not my real position, this is not my real home, I belong somewhere else. And that this material existence, this creation, is manifested by matter, and it transforms around the living entity. And this matter, creates different shapes of things, of different bodies around us, of different situations around us, of different identities around us, which gives us experiences of enjoyment and control. And in the next verse, then it mentions that the modes of material nature further manifest as matter, knowledge, and activity, and then it puts the eternally living, transcendental living entity under the conditions of cause and effect, and make him responsible for such activities. So what's happening? The modes of material nature, they are causing us to do activities. We are driven completely by the modes of material nature. And we might have seen this diagram in Bhagavad Gita, where there are three strings, and they're pulling the material nature, the living entity, in different directions. So these modes are making us move in different directions. They're making us act in a certain way. And because of then we are doing these activities, and because depending on the activities, we get the reaction to the activities, which is karma. We all know about it. So basically, Lord is purifying us through the karma. And after enjoyment, yes, we can enjoy in this material creation. But yes, if we try to enjoy separate from Krishna, we do get karma. But we also experience suffering after that, because this enjoyment, whatever enjoyment we are doing in this creation, it's of a very, very temporary nature. Whatever happiness we all might have experienced in our lives, if we go back and look at it, like, that happiness actually lasted for a very small time, and then we forget about it. And then eventually suffering followed, maybe because of some real challenge, or something just because of lack of happiness, we experience suffering also. So this is the nature of karma. And then what the material world does, basically it says, if you want to enjoy, you enjoy, but then suffer. So God is the controller, and Maya is the external potency that is creating this creation. And then what happens afterwards? His Maya then creates time, karma, and sabhava, or nature, and then it merges all of them. So again, it's showing the position of Lord being the controller. This Maya is doing everything, but then who is the Lord of this Maya? Maya dakshina prakriti suyate sacharacharam. It is working under the direction of the Supreme Lord. And the whole system is created to purify the Supreme Soul. Basically, the verse is indicating that Krishna is the real controller. And the purport mentions, today's purport very nicely mentioned, how the material creation is just like a cloud in the unlimited sky. So we see sometimes, the sky is absolutely clean and it's blue and it's very, very clear. And we see some clouds in one corner. And that is the position of this material creation. It's the small part in the big sky. And this real sky is the spiritual sky, which is filled with the rays of Brahma Jyoti, as mentioned in the purport. And a portion of this unlimited sky is covered by this Mahat Tattva, or the cloud of material creation, under which all this creation is happening. And today's verse, Lord Brahma also speaks about the time factor. The time This time is one of the most important forceful teachers for everyone about the temporary nature of the worldly existence. Because of the presence of time, all of us can learn about the fragility, about the perishability of all the things by our everyday observation. And also common sense. We can see, whatever's around us eventually, whatever is built eventually comes down. We see all these monuments that were created, in the 10th century, or or before that as well. But then we see how the time is deteriorating everything. We see our lives, our family members, how the time is deteriorating the body, and eventually the body becomes unfit to be occupied with a living entity, and soul has to move on to another body. But even after observing all these things, even after having this common sense, unfortunately, most of us don't realize it on a day-to-day basis, or at least not straight away unless we come into Krishna consciousness. So why don't we learn about the perishability of this material existence? Why don't we want to be aware about this perishability, about this temporary nature of the material existence? Why we don't have this awareness? Because of our strong desires to enjoy the world. We all have these strong desires, this force of desires that I want enjoyment, and this is probably this is actually the first reason by which we were put into the material creation in the first place, because we had this strong desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. And what these desires do, these desires like maintain a strong hold on us by making us not contemplate on this temporary nature, not contemplate on the harsh realities of life, of the dangers of life, the dangers of birth, death, old age, and disease. And due to our lack of contemplation, we see sickness and death affecting everyone all around us. Yet we don't think that it will ever happen to me. Or we think that even if it happens to me, I'll be able to somehow or the other cure it and win over it. However, this demonstrates, the truth that we are trying to deny. How? By making these dangers of this material creation unavoidable. So even though we might not think of birth, death, old age, and disease, they do come in time, either to us or to people around us. So this time factor always is a very, very loving reminder of our temporary nature in life. Time forces us eventually to dry and die. I was listening to a very, very, very interesting podcast between this devotee Jay Shetty, and he was interviewing a French nutritionist who was explaining about the order in which we should eat food to extract the maximum nutrition out of it. And in that discussion, she mentioned this term called glycation. So the glycation means cooking. So if you put the cook on the stove or on the microwave, basically what we see, it has glycated, it has cooked. And what she says was, our body, as soon as we are born, we are also in one way going through this process of glycation. And what's the proof? The proof is if you open the body of a very small child, everything is very, very white. It is very clean. But then if you open the same body or vessels of a old person who has died, and if you open it, you will see everything is brown, it's dark brown or black. It's exactly like how something is cooked and it changes its color and texture. So in one sense, as soon as we are born, we are being cooked in this material nature. Our body is being cooked. And what she was emphasizing on the fact that there are some foodstuffs that delays this glycation, and there are some foodstuffs which further aggressively intensify this glycation. So hence she was recommending everyone to choose the former, which is choose green foods or better foods or healthier food choices, so that this glycation can be delayed, so that we can live a healthy course of healthy life for the maximum time of our age. But the point is, the glycation is still happening. No matter if someone's dying in the 80s or someone's dying in the 50s, eventually everyone, the death is the final reality. This glycation is happening. So this is the time factor. It is telling us that our body is changing. Our energy levels are changing. So it's a loving reminder about this temporary nature of this material world. And if we take shelter of wisdom of Vedic literature, especially from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which we take shelter of their wisdom, they help us actually realize that actually time is Krishna in disguise. We all know this popular verse from Bhagavad Gita, Kalosmiham loka kshaya krit pravadho. Time I am the greater destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all the people, Krishna says to Arjuna. So time is the guide through which is the guise through which actually Krishna expresses his tough love. Scriptures, is through which Krishna is expressing his soft love, saying, read the scripture, understand the purpose of life, and correct your course of action. But then, if some people say, no, I don't want to do that, so the time comes in the form of Krishna's love, but it's Krishna's hard love. It's Krishna's tough love to, again, make us remind of the dangers of this material world and then correct our course of action. So it's an expression that is necessary for those who don't learn from the gentle love of Krishna in the form of scriptures. So this Vedic wisdom helps us connect to the tough side of time with love's side and learn the important lesson. So we understand the fruitless nature of the temporary world and the urgency of redirecting our love to the eternal. But what is eternal? Question is, if we have to direct our love to the eternal, first we need to understand what is eternal. So for that, we need to refer to Vedic scriptures. And what does Vedic scriptures say? It is the Jiva, which is eternal, the spirit soul. It is the Lord, the supreme soul, who is eternal, including his names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. And what's eternal is the loving relationship between the Jiva and the Lord. So if I know that I am eternal, God is eternal, and the relationship is eternal, my whole life should only focus on understanding about me, God, and this relationship. And everything else just should take a second priority or third priority or no priority at all. So this is what the scriptures are doing. This is the process. This is what the knowledge of Krishna consciousness is doing, is reminding us of this Sambandha Gyan, and then reminding us what's the prayojan is, what's the goal is, which is remembering this relationship with the Lord and attain his continued service. And then it also gives the avidaya, the process by which how we can get it. That's why it's important to follow the science of Krishna consciousness. I have a lot of other topics to speak about, especially on the impersonal aspect of the Lord, but we've already reached the time at 7. So I'd like to stop here and ask everyone if they have any questions or comments on today's discussions. Hare Krishna. Any last questions or comments? If not, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
It's a beautiful class, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day, dear devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Great practical class.
Hare Krishna.
I'm very speaking.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.